Okay, so one thing I recommend doing is always make sure that you have all of those things that you painted, or the things that you covered up with the tape. Make sure you've got a good seal on those, so just check them one more time. Run through them with your finger, rub them down on the edges, and make sure that they've got a good seal all the way around that, because you don't want to get streaks of paint or anything, any bleeding or anything like that on there. So what you want to do is make sure you get your primer all mixed up, and I usually just leave the screws inside these top pieces and things like that. And the reason being is because then those, even though they're inside, they're still going to be white, and they'll kind of blend in a little bit better than if they were black. So what you want to do, keep a good distance, make sure you don't get any running, and I usually just do bursts of paint. So then we'll just shoot it on little by little, and make sure you're in a nice ventilated area, but try and stay out of breezes, try and stay out of where any dust could be, and you're going to want to hit the light or the fixture in a lot of different angles. You get a nice coat on there, but just make sure that you go with the flow of the plastic. You can see these vents right here, they go this way. You're going to want to make sure your paint is going that way as well and not against the grain, because then you start getting some bleeding and some gapping and things like that. So again, just get a nice coat and get it at all different angles. Even though on these pieces, actually I'm going to grab this other one, you can see there's some lips and things like that. You kind of want to make sure you get those too, just in case your plastic doesn't seal together very well on the fixture itself. And that way you don't have any little black streaks that are going to be happening. Another recommendation, you can actually take this down. Some of ours we actually took in to get professionally painted through an auto body. And they do a great job. And after I realized how simple this was, and if you get the right paint, it really can do an awesome effect and look really nice when you're done. We just decided to do the rest of ours in-house. Again, make sure you get the right paints though. It's better to spend, you know, $6, $8 on a nice can of paint than trying to get some cheap stuff for $1.25 or something like that. So you figure these fixtures are, you know, roughly $750 to $800. Spend the extra money to get the right stuff. You bought a good fixture in the first place. Can't imagine that you'd want to go cheap on painting them now. And again, this is a really nice touch. Just make sure you get a nice strong coat of primer down. But don't get too close, because if you get too close, it'll start blowing the other paint around. And before you actually start working on your fixture, I probably recommend maybe starting with just a regular piece of plastic. And then you'll kind of know exactly how much to put on, how much to apply, how far away you need to be, what kind of bursts you need to do. We actually did a lot of trial and error before we started painting the actual fixture itself, which is always a safe bet. Again, go with the grains here, with the vents. One thing you'll notice, if you get too close, it'll start running and it'll start bleeding. So just make sure you give it enough distance there. Now we're going to come over to our other pieces down here. And this is where we put that tape on. Again, just make sure it's nice and pressed down. Make sure all the corners are down, all the edges are clean. The nice thing with the, for some reason if you do accidentally get some on those logos, and all fixtures are different, they don't all have that same style. So some things you might not have to cover up. But for some reason if you do get some on there, typically you can just take a little knife afterwards and then just apply some pressure to that knife on where that overspray was. One thing I do here is, again, this lip might not be seen, but then again it might be seen. So we just make sure that we kind of get it at all different angles here. So once we got that down, then we can actually put the piece down. Then once this primer actually dries, we can actually go in, and when we do our final coat, we'll just make sure we get it really good on that backside as well. We usually recommend doing about 2 coats of the primer. Just gives it nice coverage, and then it also makes it a little bit more durable as well. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, I highly recommend just going down to an auto body shop, taking the pieces off the unit itself, and just tell them exactly what you want, what colors. I mean, if you really want to get creative, you can do all different styles of colors. But again, you want it to match what your system is. If your system is red spandex over the totems, then do red. It's completely up to you. I'm not sure why you would do red, but everybody's a little different. Again, a nice short burst. Same thing with the steel. Try and get them at all different angles. Get the edges, even though you might not see them right away. Once you get all these pieces on a complete white fixture, they will stand out. Now with your screws, it's okay if you get them on the threads. Alright, now for our last pieces here. Now these pieces are kind of tricky because there is a lot of different areas that you have to get some tough angles. First, this piece right here, you've got that little wave. Make sure you get the angles on that. And then also where the 2 pieces connect, you can see they have these little lips right here. Make sure you get the right angle on that. And then these back sides. And now another thing is, they have these handles, and those are typically black too, and those will actually be seen. So, recommend shooting those, and get in there as much as you can to get that angle. And it might be one of those things that you actually want to start with. So get the handles nice and painted on the inside. And don't worry about getting the paint completely perfect. Like I said, you just want to make sure you stay away from the running and things like that. Because this is just a base coat. You want your base coat to look nice, but don't get too worried about it, because that final coat will actually cover up most of your flaws. Okay. Alright, and that is the prime coat. What I recommend is let it sit for probably a good 45 minutes. You know, it's actually going to feel dry. It'll feel dry right away, but just go ahead and let it sit for a couple hours, maybe 45 minutes. 45 minutes should be enough, and then just go over maybe with a second coat of the primer, and it'll make it a little bit more durable for you. So again, those are the pieces, and those are our other pieces. So now that's our primer white, and then you can kind of understand what we did with the primer white. Basically the paint with the white, the actual finish coat, it's going to be the same process. And you just make sure you go with those nice bursts, make sure that you get a nice coat all the way across, and make sure you get all of the fixture itself. Get your screws nice and white as well, so they do blend into the fixture. And then basically, once you go through the assembly process, put all the screws back in. And when you have all the screws back in, basically you've got your system all put together. And I'll actually show you what that all looks like here in our next little clip. Okay, so basically this is our Q-spot 260 when it's all painted. You can see this is where that little emblem was, and again you can see where the fan is. If you can get that off, excellent. Make sure you take the fan apart though. You don't want to paint the fan itself. There's the other emblem, and then also on the front side here, this is where that black shiny plastic was on the top. Again, it's a really sharp look. This work looks good on white potems, and it just gives it a really nice effect. So If you have questions, give us a call, let us know. You can call me at 605-360-1102. Contact me on the Disc Jockey News as well. My email should be on there. And I'd be happy to kind of help you guys out with whatever fixtures you have that you want to paint. I can tell you some fixtures aren't going to be very easy to paint, so keep that stuff in mind. But again, this is what the Q-spot 260 looks like when it's all done, and we'll put this on top of our white Potom. So thanks for watching, and again, if there's anything else that you guys have questions about, let me know. Thanks a lot.